views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the hosts and guests, and not necessarily those of the staff and management of WWDB-TV.
Welcome to Las Vegas Law Talk. It's a crazy time out there, people. It's a crazy time. But the show must go on. We're doing it safely because that's what we need to do. We're socially distancing. We're staying more than 6 feet apart. We're not gathering in groups of more than 10 because that's what we have to do these days. But the show is going on. I'm not going to have volunteers for a little while. It might just be me and a guest. Maybe. I do still have people interested in coming on, so I hope to continue doing that and continue to provide value information for you and the community about what is going on out there. So today, I'm going to make sure that we still talk about the Law Foundation. We are adapting at the Law Foundation. We are continuing to make sure that our programs are running at the Law Foundation. That'll be our first segment, and then we'll talk about things that we're still making sure that we do as human beings, and keeping up our civic duties. That'll be our first segment, and then in our second segment today, we will be talking about some interesting topics. Utilities, rent, evictions. What's going on? What's going on out there? There's so many questions. I've had so many people with so many questions about, do we have to pay rent? If we don't pay rent, what happens? What should we do? So I want to try and give just some information if I can. I don't know all the answers. I don't have all of the answers. I don't. I wish I did. But I want to try and give you some of the answers today if I can. All right? So the Law Foundation, the Clark County Law Foundation, generally what we do have sort of three primary prongs of what we do at the Law Foundation. The first one is trial by peers. The second one is Liberty Bell, and the third one is the Attorney Memorial. So trial by peers is our youth diversionary court. We are still running. We had court, we're just doing bench trials by Zoom now. So the court process is still running. We're not receiving cases anymore, I suppose, because school is out, but we have a referral system. So if you have kids who are getting into trouble, if there is trespass, if there is petty larceny, we can still accept those referrals into the Clark County Law Foundation. So that's www.clarkcountylawfoundation.org, phone number 702-333-8277. So you can always contact the Law Foundation to make sure that if there's a way that we can help your kids learn a lesson and get some experience and help the community and do all of those things because they're getting into some trouble, contact us. Contact the Law Foundation to make sure that those things are still going on. We still have we're trying to do restorative justice. We have a restorative justice mediation scheduled on April 1st at the Law Foundation. So we're still moving forward with all of those things. The summer course, trial by peers summer course. If you know a teen, 12 to 17 years old, who might be interested in becoming a peer counselor, we're still moving forward with our summer course. Now, the course starts June 9th. I think that's the right date. Might have that wrong, but it starts in June. Right now, I think the plan is if we cannot go forward in person, which may be the case still by June, we're going to do it by Google Classroom. So we are still planning to make sure that our summer course goes forward, and we are teaching local kids, how to be lawyers, essentially. The trial by peers summer course, we teach them argument and opening and closing arguments, examination and evidence, and all the ways to put on a case, one of our trial by peers cases. So we're still doing that. There will be, I'll have John in the post edit sort of throw up the link for the application there, and we'll have that for you so that you can make sure if you do want your teen to apply to become a peer counselor, they can do that. Make sure you get that in soon. All right, So we also are doing our Liberty Bell Awards. We're accepting nominations now. You can email nominations. The Liberty Bell Awards has been something that's been going on since the 80s. We've been giving, not the Law Foundation, but the Liberty Bell Award has been given out. The Law Foundation now handles that. We've been giving out awards for a lawyer, a judge, or a lawmaker who is upholding the rule of civics and making sure that the community, pardon me, the community is engaged in civics and making sure that the rule of law is upheld and promoting good justice. So if you have a nomination for someone who you think should receive that award, make sure you email Patrick Montano, that's the director of the Law Foundation, at director@clarkcountylawfoundation.org. Or again, you can call. So we're also doing the art contest. Now the art contest this year is based on the 19th Amendment. So women's suffrage, right? The 19th Amendment turned 100 years old in 2019. And so the Law Day art theme this year is women's suffrage and what that means to you. So again, this though is open to the whole entire school district. So if you have any student, everyone's at home right now, everyone's stuck at home, not sure what to do, not sure how to keep their kids engaged, this is something that you can do with your kids. Have them do some kind of art poster or a video or a poem or a song or anything that they want to do that relates to what women's suffrage and the right to vote for women means, okay? So you can do that. We'll have submissions. We'll be taking submissions by mail. You can email them, any of the safe ways that you want to get it to us, you can do that. So make sure that you do that, okay? If you have any questions, please, again, call the Law Foundation. You can reach out to us and ask more questions about the art contest. We want to make sure that your kids are still involved and we're still, reaching out to the community and sharing what we have to share. Last thing that we do, I says the Attorney Memorial. That's not coming up until September, but every year the Law Foundation also does the Attorney Memorial, where we honor those attorneys that have passed away in the last year. So that's something that we really love to do, and we hope that you'll continue to support us. We appreciate you being here and continuing to watch the show. Now on the sort of measure of civics, okay? As citizens, it's hard right now. It's a little bit weird. We don't know what's going on. It's more important than ever, I think, that we vote, okay? I don't have a candidate on today. I've had, a couple of candidates on the show. I have a few candidates more that are interested to be on the show, and I hope to get them on, depending on everything that happens. But it's more important than ever that we exercise our right to vote. And this year, there's a couple things that go into that, right? So first off, we got to register to vote. So you can register to vote NV.com. That's where you can go to register to vote in Nevada. The Secretary of State of Nevada has made it so that all voting is going to be by mail now, all right? So for the primary election that's coming up in June, it's so important. There are so many contested primary elections this year, both judicial and non-judicial. It's incredibly important that you as a citizen register to vote, make sure your address is up to date, and look out in your mailbox for your ballot, okay? Because once you get your ballot, you can still exercise your civic duty. It's so important, and again, especially in these times, we have an opportunity to make sure that we're still voting. I'm excited about it. I'm really glad that the Secretary of State decided to do it by mail, so that way we can still make sure that we are voting. Again, there's a ton of judicial and non-judicial candidates that you need to get to the bottom of the ballot for. This is a good way to do it. You can sit at home in your pajamas and mark down who you want to vote for rather than having to go stand in a line. That sounds way better to me. I'm just saying. Another thing we need to make sure we do, the 2020 census, okay? 2020census.gov. We are, whatever money that we're going to get as a state, the state of Nevada is going to need help. Our tourism is stopped for at least 30 days. It could go longer than that. We don't know. We don't know what's going to happen in the next couple of weeks, right? So if we don't have proper census data, then we're not going to have proper funding necessarily. We want to make sure that the federal government knows how many people live here, so that way we can get as much money for every person that we deserve, right? So make sure, I've done my 2020 census business. Make sure you do your 2020 census business as well. All right, guys, we're going to have John throw up a video of the Law Foundation, take a little break, and we'll come back, and what we'll talk about next, we'll talk about utilities, rent, court, all the things you really want to know about. Talk to you soon.
We can talk a little bit about the Trial by Peers program. It's been about 22 years with the Clark County Law Foundation, and the goal is to provide community service and educational opportunities to our youth. When I was teaching a summer class, preparing for the examination, and one of the parents came up to me and said it was like listening to a civics class, and that's exactly what it's about. It's about teaching good citizenship, and the whole trial by peers is exactly what it means. It's a trial by the peers. It's where the youth are defended by their peers, they are prosecuted by their peers, and they are judged by their peers. It's a juvenile diversion program. Youth that get citations come to the program instead of going to the court, to the juvenile court. And what happens, the thing is based on a positive peer, saying that the youth respond more to other peers, telling them it's inappropriate or hold them accountable. So it's based on the youth court and positive peer pressure. So that's the whole goal of the program.
Of my entire life, hands down, and you have to really take it for what it is and really appreciate it, because we're really lucky to have that in our city.
Opportunity to study law and know the handles around the courtroom. You know, I wasn't really good at speaking at first, but thanks to them, they helped me out. Yeah, so, and to the new peer counselors, I want to say, you got to take this seriously, because this is a program you cannot sit back on, lay back, and pretend like it's nothing. This program will help you succeed, and it will make you a better person, okay? Thank you.
Welcome back to Las Vegas Law Talk. I hope you enjoyed that video about the Law Foundation. So again, if you have a teen who might be interested, they're going to be able to sign up. Make sure you go to the link, put in the application. All right. So this segment, we're just going to do 2 segments today. This segment I'm going to talk about a bunch of different stuff, sort of essential, non-essential, utilities, rent, courts, you know, different things, so that way maybe some of your hot burning questions might be answered about what do we do right now? All right, so firstly, essential versus non-essential. As a lawyer, my business is essential, but the thing is that's not enough, okay? You have to, you know, there's a lot of businesses that are kind of in this gray area, in this, you know, are they not, should they be open, should they not be open, that kind of thing. Here's the thing, if you're not really sure, maybe you should close, but, you know, if you really want to stay open, and I understand why people want to stay open, I know it's very difficult right now, and everyone's scared about where money is going to come from. If you want to stay open as a business, what you really need to do is be prepared, okay? Be prepared that if someone who's enforcing the law, be that, you know, the police, be that the business license department, whoever that may be, the health department, whoever it may be that may be enforcing these laws, if they come to your business and they knock on your door and they say, why are you still open? You need to be able to defend yourself. You need to be able to articulate to them, 1, why you believe you're essential, and 2, what you are doing to make sure that you're conforming with state and federal guidelines about safety, right? I'm cleaning extra, we're staying 6 feet apart, we're doing all of the other things, right? So for me, in my own business, I just have myself and a part-time assistant. There's normally 4 people that are in my office suite on a regular basis. We had already closed down to outside visitors, and then the 2 folks from the Law Foundation that I share space with, they are working from home remotely. I've been working from home the last couple of days. I've been in the office, my assistant has been in the office, but when we're in the office, he stays to himself, I stay to myself. I've been making sure that we continue to wipe down door handles and, things, light fixtures and stuff like that, to make sure that we're conforming, So even though business still has to go on, I'm doing what I can to make sure that I'm not contributing to the spread of anything. And that's what I think is really important, that if you are going to stay open as an essential business, you need to make sure that you're taking steps to protect your workers, right? So if that means that you do have to change shifts, do shift work where some people are working at certain times and other people are working at different times, or, and of course cleaning everything down again and again and again, increasing sanitation, doing all that stuff. So essential, non-essential, again, if you have questions about it, you may not be essential and you should probably close. But if you believe you're essential, make sure you have a reason why you're essential, and you have to be able to say what you're doing to stay clean and stay safe and keep your workers safe. Because here's the thing, if you are an employer and you do have employees, what if one of them gets sick? Then are you liable? That becomes a question, and I think that's going to be, there's going to be a lot of lawsuits over the next several years to answer some of these questions about what obligation did my employer have, what obligation did, this person down the street have, there's going to be a lot of different things. What obligation did my landlord have, and what obligation did anybody have during all of this to make sure that we were safe and protected? There's going to be a lot of that goes down. So if you do have inclination that there is a business that is clearly non-essential and they're working and maybe putting people at risk depending on what it is, you can also probably call law enforcement, call the business license departments, if you're inclined to do that. But hopefully we've got a lot of people participating and making sure that as Nevadans we are staying safe, stay home for Nevada, because we don't want to be New York or California or Washington or any of those states at this point. So in the courts, so utilities in Nevada and Las Vegas have been suspended, not suspended, I don't want to say that, that's wrong. What has been suspended are shutoffs, okay? What that doesn't mean that you don't have to pay. It doesn't mean that the utilities won't necessarily still want money from you for the service. But what it does mean, as far as I understand it, is that if you can't pay or you don't pay, then they're not going to shut off your service during this time. So you'll at least still have water, you'll still have gas, you'll still have power. And then also my understanding is that the utilities are all trying to work with consumers, work with customers to extend payments, make payment schedules, those kinds of things if you need it, okay? If you can pay, you should still pay. But if you cannot pay, try to work with them, because right now they're not going to turn off your service. So if you work with them and do it now, then hopefully they'll be able to help you. The same with rent, okay? There's been a lot of questions. Do we have to pay rent on the 1st? Yes, it's still due. As far as I have seen, there has not been a moratorium on rents, okay? That could change. That could change by the time this comes out. I don't know. But right now, there is not a moratorium on rents that I have seen. And if that changes, I'll let you know. But what that means is that rent is still due. You still have a contract for rent, potentially, if you have a lease, right? There's still, unjust enrichment, like you still have to pay for where you live. There's still, a value that you're receiving, so you still have to pay for that. But your landlord may work with you, okay? Your landlord may work with you. If you cannot pay your rent, contact your landlord, talk to your landlord. I can't guarantee you that your landlord is going to be nice. Unfortunately, I know that some of them are not, but try. That's all that you can do. If you have lost your job because your business is not essential, you work in a casino, you work in a restaurant, a bar, a gym, and you've lost your job and you can't pay your rent, talk to your landlord, okay? Because your rent is going to come due. The good thing is that if you don't pay your rent, your landlord can't evict you right now. Not officially, anyways. All right? Not lawfully, anyways. They can't Go to the courts. Every single one of the courts, Las Vegas, North Las Vegas, and Henderson, any of the 3 courts where you can be evicted from, they have suspended evictions for the time being, okay? But again, that doesn't mean your rent isn't due. It just means that you cannot be evicted for the time being. Doesn't mean if you don't pay your rent and then this moratorium on eviction stops, then you can still be evicted because you didn't pay your rent, right? So there's still things that can happen. If you get a notice, you should still probably take steps to try to respond. Because if you don't, and then the moratorium is up, you don't want to be evicted, okay, right? You don't want to be evicted right away. So the thing about evictions, what I would suggest you do, either you call a landlord-tenant lawyer and get some information and insight, or you can go to the civillawselfhelpcenter.org, okay? civillawselfhelpcenter.org, and that'll go up on in post-op, okay, post-edit, and whatever it's called. You know, so if you get an eviction notice because you didn't pay rent, because you can't pay rent, you can file an answer. There's electronic filing. I know it's not always available for everybody, but there is electronic filing. You can still do those things. The filing systems are still available online, okay? So you're still able to respond. You're still able to protect your rights, all right? Now, if your landlord tries to lock your door, that's not right. That's never been right, to be honest with you, okay? Landlord has to have an order, has to have a constable or a sheriff there to lock you out. So if a landlord or a property manager just changes your locks on you, again, civillawselfhelpcenter.org, there are forms that you can file for unlawful evictions, okay? That's what you need to do. You need to make sure that you're doing that. The courts are pretty much on lockdown. Traffic citations are not going forward. I've had pretty much every hearing that I've had has continued. You know, everyone is really trying to make sure that we're not congregating together at the courts. I'm really, really honestly, I have to say, very proud of what the courts have done to make sure that we shut down and are doing things that are just essential at the courthouse, and most things are all happening by phone or email or minute order or something else. So that way we're not hurting each other, which I really, really, really appreciate. If you have something like, if you need a protection order, okay, I know that in this time we are isolating, and you know, everyone is saying that domestic violence issues are going to be increasing. That doesn't mean you shouldn't still be safe, okay? It doesn't mean you don't still have rights. Protection orders are still being, you know, we're still doing those in the courts. They're still making sure that if you have to file a protection order and ask for one, you can get a hearing, okay? So, you know, and as far as like criminal arraignments, you know, some things have been continued, but, you know, a lot of stuff is still going forward to make sure that our constitutional rights are still being adhered to. You know, all of those things. So although it's a challenge right now for everybody, I think that the courts and lawyers like myself and other people are really trying to make sure that folks like you still have access to justice and are still, you know, being protected. So all of these moratoriums on evictions and those kinds of things, they're temporary, all right? So the shortest one I know of is 30 days. That's in the Las Vegas Justice Court. It could be continued, so we're waiting to see what happens. Obviously, you know, depending on what the governor does in the next couple of weeks and what the president does in the next couple of weeks, things could be continued. But for now, it is what it is, right? Something else, so for DMV, right, if you have registration, if you have a driver's license, if you have temporary tags, if you have, you know, anything like that, there's a letter that you can print from the DMV that says that if your whatever document it is expires now, that it's extended. So for, I think it's 90 days, all right? So if you go, make sure you print out that letter and carry it with you wherever you put your license, put it right there, or with your registration or whatever it is, to make sure that you have that. Thankfully, I mean, I think our local law enforcement is going to be very keen on all of that, and you know, they're not going to be issuing citations, I would hope, for folks who have expired registration right now because of what's going on right now. But it's always better safe than sorry to have that kind of thing on you, on your person, so that way if, you know, if your tags have expired, you're not driving around unlawfully and putting yourself at risk for a citation and a fine that you don't even need and probably can't pay because everyone's out of work right now, right? So we don't want that. I mean, I don't know if I've given you enough information. I feel like I have, and I know there's this like stimulus bill that's coming out. I honestly don't know a lot about it. I don't know even if it's passed yet. I don't think it has. And if it has, I don't know a lot about it. So I think John might know more about it, and he might do a show about it later. I don't know. But everything is changing so fast. I mean, we've got the stimulus package. I know there's new tax credits that are applicable. There's, loans that people can get right now. There's grants that people can apply for right now. There's a lot of relief. People are being really, honestly, there's been a lot of generosity that I have seen in my own life and in other people's lives. So please, if you are able to take advantage of any of the resources that are out there, do it. I think that the network here, WWDBTV, is going to throw up some extra information on their website to make sure that they're doing what they need to do. My law firm, I'm trying to do some more virtual tenant rights classes, so that way, if there are tenants that have more questions about their particular situation and what they can do and what they can't do, that they can maybe get some of those questions answered. We're all really out here trying to help. I want to help. I know the station here wants to help. Everyone is just trying to make sure that we get through these tough times, and I hope that you do. I'm glad that you're here with me. LawTalk.Vegas. You can see us on Facebook, facebook.com/Las Vegas Law Talk. Thanks, guys, for being here. If you have any questions, call me, 702-848-8806. And if I can help, I will. I appreciate you guys so much. We'll see you next time.